All right, good morning. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us here on Metro Television. This is Inside Pages on Metro TV. Once again, my name is Aldo Moro. It's always a pleasure coming your way. It's a beautiful Saturday morning. I think it's been drizzling out there, hasn't it? But it's always a pleasure coming your way. Now we have two very important conversations to have this morning. One is got to do with the former president, John Dramani Mahama. He's been making some pronouncement this week. Now, first of all, he's not been happy that pro-NPP, or let me put it this way, he's not been happy that our courts have been packed by persons alleged or suspected to be aligned to the New Patriotic Party. And he's actually assuring NDC lawyers that they should get ready to also get appointment into the court when the NDC wins power. Now, that has sparked all kinds of debate as to whether what the former president said was appropriate or not. We'll be speaking to Franklin Kujo of Imani Africa. We're picking his thoughts on that. But now, closely related to that, when I say closely related to that, is that the former president has also been talking the same week. Now, he has been expressing some concerns again about the posture of the Electoral Commission. There's limited voter registration exercise which is supposed to come off on Tuesday, and the NDC and 5 other political parties have said the Electoral Commission should expand access to voters by making sure that the exercise takes place in electoral areas rather than the district offices of the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission is not budging. The Electoral Commission says that he wants to do it at its district offices. The former president has had to wade in and said the Electoral Commission should reconsider its decision and expand access to make sure that ordinary Ghanaians who have turned 18 and who want to be on the voters' roll for the first time are able to easily do that without any stress or any inconvenience. We'll be speaking to Franklin Kujo because he's been writing quite a lot on that as well. So we have two important issues to have a chat with as far as our engagement with Franklin Kujo of Imani is concerned. But Hassan Eriga, who is the founder of the APC party, is one of those who've actually filed a suit at the court asking the electoral management body, that's the Electoral Commission, to do the needful. And I've told you what they expect the Electoral Commission to do. They're actually saying that what the Electoral Commission has done is unconstitutional. I will tell you why when we come back. But there's also one of the biggest topics for this week. It has to do with the stepping down of former Trades Minister and a former presidential aspirant on the ticket of the New Patriotic Party. I'm talking about the John Alan Kwadwo Kyerematen. Now, he has stepped down. There's been public reaction to that. Not everybody agrees, but some agree, saying that they can appreciate and understand where the former minister is coming from. But there's some also said he should have gone ahead by contesting the MPP's internal polls. Even if he doesn't win, that would have been better. But the more important question would be, what's the political future of John Alan Kwadwo Kyerematen would be? What is he thinking? What is he considering? Is he going to be retiring? Is he going to be going independent? Is he going to be forming a new political party? Is he going to be throwing his weight behind whoever emerges finally at the MPP internal polls? We don't know. But a very vocal member of his campaign team will be joining us. I'll tell you who the person is, but we'll take a short break. We'll be right back. Okay, so welcome back. This is Inside Pages on Metro Television. And in case you just joined us, we have two important conversations to have. One has to do with the Electoral Commission, which is starting its limited voter registration exercise on Tuesday. But there are 7 political parties who have grave issues with the way the Electoral Commission is going about its registration exercise, because the Electoral Commission is conducting it in its 268 district offices. The political parties are not happy with that. In fact, let me just walk you through the political parties. So we're talking about the Great Consolidated People's Party, the Liberal Party of Ghana, that's the LPG, Convention People's Party, the CPP, the People's National Congress, PNC, All Progressive Congress, that's the APC, the National Democratic Party, which is the NDP, and the Ghana Freedom Party, which is the GFP. Now, the case that they are making, and the case they're making is simple. They are saying that the Electoral Commission's decision to restrict its upcoming voter registration exercise to its district offices would only end up disenfranchising a lot of Ghanaians who can't trek from their various homes to the district offices to register, when the Electoral Commission is enjoined by the Constitution of this country, Article 42, to make sure that they grant access, they can grant access to the citizens to be able to participate or get their names onto the voters register so that they can cast and exercise their civic duty, because voting is an inalienable right. It is guaranteed under the Constitution. It is the right of every Ghanaian to participate in this democratic exercise, and that's what Article 42 enjoins all of us to remember. So they filed a suit at the court. We'll see how it goes. But of course, the former president, John Dramani Mahama of the NDC, has also been wading into this. He's asking the Electoral Commission to reconsider its decision, but clearly the Electoral Commission is going ahead regardless, because we've seen some adverts already been running on the various media platforms that says it's starting on Tuesday. So clearly that's not going to change, and it is going to be at the district offices. I'll be speaking to Franklin Kujo shortly. He's joined us via Zoom anyway. But before then, the former president has also been talking. He's concerned that the sitting president, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has packed the court with what he calls his friends and persons who are allegedly aligned to the New Patriotic Party, because the president doesn't want to be held accountable when he leaves power. We'll also be picking the thoughts of Franklin Kujo on that. And then our second, but of course, another interesting conversation has to do with the former Minister of Trade and Industry, Alan Kyerematen. He's stepped down from the MPB's internal contest to elect a flag bearer, citing various reasons. He thinks the playing field is tilted, is not fair, and is not leveled. He doesn't think that, based on his experience in the Superdelegates Conference, he will be able to make any inroads, because he says the system has deliberately skewed or tilted the entire process in favor of one of the candidates. He doesn't mention the name of that candidate. So I'll be speaking to one of his aides who will be joining us shortly to tell us what the future of Alan Kyerematen looks like. But before then, let's watch the former president talking about his concerns about the way the Electoral Commission is going about the limited voter registration.
Our people, the youth, the elderly, drivers, market women, civil servants, security personnel, teachers, journalists, nurses, and doctors are all experiencing a sense of hopelessness on a scale never witnessed in recent memory. This dire situation calls for urgent action, and the most powerful tool at our disposal is our right to vote. President Akufo-Addo and his administration have failed to address the pressing economic challenges they have exerted on the people of our country, misapplying our precious, scarce resources and overspending on their creature comforts and largesse instead of building the critical infrastructure this country needs for job creation and development. Their promises during their campaigns have not been fulfilled, leaving the ordinary Ghanaian burdened with the consequences of their incompetence, cluelessness, and shameless arrogance. Today, some Ghanaians glorify and make excuses for corruption because the MPP has allowed it to permeate every facet of our society. This must never be accepted as the norm. It hinders progress on many fronts, denying our youth of opportunities that should have come their way if state resources were meaningfully applied. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot afford to let this dire state of affairs continue. Registering and acquiring a voter ID card to vote in the December 2024 presidential and parliamentary elections is not just a basic civic duty, it is an obligation. As a people Our starting point to effect real change in our country is to register and vote. You and I have a collective responsibility to use our votes wisely to hold our leaders accountable and demand the change we desperately need. It is the surest way to secure our democracy. As young people, we must hold immense power in our hands. The upcoming limited voter registration exercise by the Electoral Commission is therefore an opportunity to start the process towards making your voices heard and shaping the future of our dear country, Ghana. I wish to add my voice to those who have called on the EC to reconsider its decision to restrict the registration exercise to its district offices only. Acquiring a voter ID card affirms one's right to vote, and access to a voter ID card should be easy and not limited by location. Every Ghanaian deserves the chance to exercise this democratic right. I strongly urge the Electoral Commission to facilitate the registration exercise in all its electoral areas to allow for easy access and a reduced burden on the citizenry in their quest to register.
All right, that's the former president, John Dramani Mahama, and joining Ghanaians to participate in the upcoming voter registration exercise. Limited indeed. Now, as soon as when the former president made his comments or held his address, there were some reactions because, in fact, what we just played did not capture the part where the former president was actually was entreating the Electoral Commission to expand access to, or to sort of broaden the registration center so that ordinary Ghanaians can have easier access to the places where the exercise was taking place. But Franklin Kujo posted something on his Facebook wall, and it says, so in whose interest is the Electoral Commission working? It has rejected even Kodeo's suggestion to decentralize the limited registration exercise, and that rigging elections isn't just about snatching ballot boxes. Franklin Kujo, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, my good brother. How are you?
I'm doing very well, Franklin. So what was your motivation for putting this out?
Well, good morning to your viewers and probably those listening in as well. First of all, I think it is important to make the point that voting is a fundamental right, and everyone ought to be given the opportunity, not even the opportunity, the right actually to register and then vote. It is shocking, really, to see that after several years of mismanagement at the Electoral Commission under the current leadership and its commissioners, unfortunately, they haven't learned any significant thing when it comes to the perceptions or the should I say the perception of people largely about their mandates. And this is just a clear example of one of those delinquent behaviors. You know, I'm surprised that an institution that is supposed to ensure fairness in electoral matters is actually vested in ensuring that there are blockades, you know, erecting higher barriers to prevent people from getting access to making important decisions. And somehow I do not even blame them entirely. I actually blame the court. In that last election, where the chairperson was allowed to more or less run away from answering critical questions about the management. And I think that's emboldened the commission to keep on fooling, excuse my language. And it's pretty annoying. And the reasons why I'm using this word is because, look, as I asked that question, in whose interest is the EC working? Is it in the interest? Is it not in the interest of Ghanaians? We are paying for taking care of them. So why would you not listen to anybody at all. Of course, I noticed that the NPP has somehow quietly not even said the word. It speaks volumes, isn't it? But what is shocking is that the EC itself, by design, should be the last institution to be erecting barriers in the. In fact, the annoying thing is that the deafening silence from them in itself, it doesn't even help anybody as well. So, however you dice it up, you toss it up, it's just grand, misbehavior purportedly to rig the elections. You see, when we say rig elections, people think that it is just snatching ballot boxes, stuffing ballot boxes, which is, the moment those regional collating centers were suggested and was not defeated by the opposition, I knew that the elections were already out, because a lot of the challenges to counting and probably staffing, changing figures would have occurred at those collation centers anyway. So to think that we are going to an election and we are going to experience something again, which is going to be rather arcane, I thought I should just make the point that, look, election rigging is not just about redemarcating constituencies, what is mostly called gerrymandering, to ensure that your opponent loses votes, or basically to dilute the votes of your opponent, or staffing ballot boxes. It also includes the behavior of the electoral management body itself. This is a clear attempt to rig an election, because you see, otherwise, what does it say? Everybody must be allowed to register. You are limiting the centers to your district capitals, if you like, knowing very well that a lot more people may not be able to even afford to travel all the way from their villages to the district. Why not probably use the EC was bent on doing this. They don't do it anyway, because there are all kinds of election centers that could have been established. And I don't think it's a question of resource. They have never said they don't have the money, right? If they didn't have, we'll provide the money. Parliament will provide the money. We know that. And because they know very well that what we are doing is silly, they will never come out to explain why. They will never talk about the issue of resource. This is just a clear attempt to dilute votes in the next election. I don't see any other way out. And so for me, while they are at liberty to misbehave, we are at liberty to also understand, analyze the misbehavior. And this is a clear example of what I see as an attempt to already discredit the elections even before it began. I don't think it is sound, not at all.
You said that you haven't really heard the stance of the New Patriotic Party on this matter. I don't know what the New Patriotic Party said at an IPAC meeting that was held concerning this matter, but what I do know, of course, that's when you monitor public discourse or public conversations on this matter, the MPP's position has been that the Electoral Commission is an independent body. We must trust the process. We must allow the Electoral Commission to do its work. Well, they would have wished that the access was expanded so that more and more people would can easily get access to the voting centers to go and register. But if the Electoral Commission says, for whatever reasons, if they are either logistically or financially constrained, or for whatever reasons they are giving, we should just understand the Electoral Commission, allow them to do their work. Doesn't that sit well with you?
It's not the official position of the NPP. I only heard my friend Chu Berima make those comments. And of course, he juxtaposed those comments with the fact that, well, he's not in favor of a limited process anyway, and that the process should be expanded.
Okay.
Well, beyond that, really, the question is, even if the NPP seems to be silent, which is rather curious, because I thought that they were a democratic institution, and that they'll be willing to ensure that the process was widespread, was pluralistic, so that everybody can take part. But let's just leave them aside for now. I think the EC, as I said, is misconducting itself and must be told in no uncertain terms that what they are doing amounts to rigging an election. I'm always frank. You can't dice it up.
So frankly, that's fine. But let's expand the theory that you are propounding. Your theory is that what the Electoral Commission is doing is that it wants to rig the elections ahead of time in favor of the New Patriotic Party. But tell me how does this?
No.
How does?
Hold on. Hang on. By the way,
Right.
I haven't said they want to rig the election in favor of a particular party.
Right.
You know, don't stretch that. What I'm trying to say is that
Okay.
you know, don't forget, rigging elections have been part and parcel of this dispensation since elections began, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Anytime you redemarcate boundaries, and politicians know this, by the way, anytime there's going to be an election, you watch. I'm sure this time around they will probably do it. You know, when we create districts, anytime we create districts, politicians are very grand masters. You know, whenever they are, especially the two that we've had, and then just watch carefully. Since the time we started redrafting boundaries and whatever, demarcating boundaries, there's always the intent to ensure there's some dilution of your base. It's been happening. Look, take Asin, for instance. There's a classic example of Asin, the whole of Asin, right? Look at the voter party. You analyzed this yourself on your show. I watched you. The three Asins or so. I mean, there was a single Asin, and I think there was a division and all of that. The main aim is actually at the time was not necessarily economic. It wasn't economic. The fact of the matter is that, I mean, if you have money and if you are governing a country properly, you don't care about whether a country is diced up into boxes or oceans size whatever structures. It must permeate. Everybody must benefit. So I've never really been a fan of all these dissection of regions and all of that. It's a waste of our resources. But the politician does this with the sole intent of diluting votes. It is there, and that's rigging, aided by the Electoral Commission. That also, actually, the Electoral Commission is the one that goes ahead to say, okay, the Constitution says we need to do redemarcation. Let's go there. That's rigging. I'm just being an academic here. But I'm just telling you that in addition to that, there's certain acts of this particular issue, including this particular one, I think constitutes rigging. Why? Because you are deliberately erecting barriers to prevent people from registering to make a vote. You are calling it a limited registration exercise. The reason it's limited, we understand, but it doesn't mean that it must be limited in scope in terms of its geographical dimension. Maybe that's why they are mistaken. It appears to me that the understanding of limited registration means that limit the centers. That's quite akin and disservice to the explanation of what I'll call a sensible deduction.
Yeah, but frankly,
we must ensure that.
But frankly, when you talk about when you talk about rigging, and I want us to be clear on this. When you talk about rigging, when the Electoral Commission engages in any rigging exercise, in whose interest does it serve?
Well, at this juncture, as I told you, I'm not going to say it's going to benefit. The fact of the matter is that I'm only telling you that rigging an election, limiting what's it called, what the EC is currently doing, amounts to preventing people from accessing their basic rights to vote, and that for me is design rigging. So maybe call it boutique rigging. Okay. So whoever benefits will benefit their way. All right. But of course, isn't it curious that the MPP is quiet all of a sudden? They are not even saying a word. All the parties that have been to God, the MPP is not even adding a single sentence of solidarity to say, oh, we support, except my friend Chumberima who says, oh, the AC is independent. It is not independent. This is crass. It's not even incompetent. It's just design boutique rigging.
Right. Let me speak to the. Please hang on a minute, because I want us to come back to a second topic where the former president has been expressing concerns about how the courts have been packed, or the judiciary has been packed with what he terms as cronies of the New Patriotic Party or the president. That's our second topic that I'll be talking to you about. But let me speak to Dr. Hassan Ayariga. He's the founder of the APC. That's another political organization. They have actually joined the suit, which is currently before the courts. We don't know when this is going to be heard, though. But Hassan Ayariga, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. It's a pleasure.
Good morning to you, and good morning to Mr. Franklin, my good friend.
All right. Sorry about that. Yesterday when you and I spoke, I got you mentioned to me that you were down with some cold. So I think that our viewers would have to bear with you. You're nursing a very bad cold, just as I am.
Yes.
Right,
The
right.
situation is a bit bad, but we can manage it.
Don't worry.
How are you doing, Moro?
May Allah grant you shifa.
Thank you, my brother. Thank
All
you,
right.
my brother.
So why are you in
Franklin,
court?
how are you doing?
Right. I guess Franklin hasn't heard you yet. But I noticed that your party's joined 6 other political parties. You're in court. Why are you in court?
For a simple reason, for the Constitution to be properly, the EC to properly do its work per the Constitution. We're in court because, over the years, the Electoral Commission has conducted the limited registration exercise from the electoral areas. And over the past year, we all have agreed that the electoral areas were the best place for the limited registration exercise to be carried out. Now, you realize that this year, the new electoral commissioner has decided that they want to start with the limited registration at the district level. And it's simple. We had that discussion at the IPAC level, and we agreed that we wanted to continue with that process of registering limited people at the electoral areas. The EC said that they were going to get back to us, and then we waited and waited. Finally, we just heard from them through the media that they were going to start the registration on the 12th of September at the district level. And Mr. Moro, we go to IPAC to discuss issues of electoral processes. We don't go to IPAC to drink tea or coffee. And when we go there, we want to be able to judge or to understand each other and to come to a conclusion that will benefit every party and every Ghanaian citizen, and make sure that the Constitution and regulations of the EC are being followed. But when we agree on certain issues, and then behind our back, the EC comes out to say certain things that we did not agree with, what it means is that EC is becoming autonomous and do what they want without recourse to the discussions that the political parties have had with them at the IPAC level. In that case, the only option left to the political parties is to go to court to demand that the EC begins with a limited registration exercise at the electoral areas rather than at the district areas. You know the situation of this country. Things are hard. Businesses are falling apart. Economic situation is worsening by the day. And how many people have that money to travel 4 hours, 2 hours from their electoral areas to the district to register? You saw what happened when we were doing the Ghana card, that many Ghanaians will even go to the centers 4 to 6 times before they are given a Ghana card. In the case of the electoral issues, if people have to travel to the districts 4 times, spending so much resources, time, and energy. And secondly, the Constitution and the regulations of the EC is being abused by the EC themselves. The regulation says that every Ghanaian citizen should be given the opportunity to become a registered vote. But in this case, we are depriving them using distance and using the regulations, the abuse of the regulations of the EC to disenfranchise a lot of Ghanaians not to be able to register at the other areas. So we are simply saying that, look, it is very easy for us to all go to our electoral areas. And at the electoral areas, we all have assemblymen who, one way or the other, knows almost everybody at that area. So even if someone buys people with different identity and comes to the electoral area and wants to register them, the assemblyman is able to detect and say, look, this man, we don't know him in this area. We know his family, but this man is not coming from this area. It will help us make that registration credible that the EC is acting for and every Ghanaian is acting for. This is a simple demand we are asking, and the EC is adamant. So for us, the last resort is to go to the court. And that is why we first of all give them a writ and now an injunction, so that the court will listen and then make its decision, so that every Ghanaian is registered at the electoral areas.
But Hassan, at your last IPAC meeting, did you table these concerns before the Electoral Commission? And when you did table these concerns before the Electoral Commission, what was the response of the Electoral Commission? Did the Electoral Commission see reason in these concerns that you raised? And did you get the impression it was going to do something about it?
Exactly. That was the reason why I told you that the Electoral Commission said they were going to get back to us.
And the Electoral Commission never did.
For them.
But the Electoral Commission never did get back to you.
They never came back to. They never got back to the political parties. The only thing we heard was that they had announced that they were going to start their exercise at the district level, and then they didn't even call an IPAC meeting to say, "Look, we stand by our words. We are not going to change our decision." So for us, if you say you're not going to change your decision, there will be nowhere to go to make sure that the decision is being carried out.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this final question before you take leave of us. Yeah, let me ask you this final question before you take leave of us. I've been engaging the founding president of Imani Africa, Franklin Kujo. He is of the view that the Electoral Commission's action amounts to rigging, but he's not talking about rigging where an Electoral Commission is conniving with one political party to rig. That's not what he's talking about, but he says the Electoral Commission is engaged in rigging. Is that what you also? Is that how you also see it?
I was off a bit. You have to ask the question again.
Yes, I'm saying that I've been talking to Mr. Franklin Kujo of Imani Africa. He is of the view that what the Electoral Commission is doing is tantamount to rigging. But he's not talking about rigging in favor of any political party per se, but the Electoral Commission is up to something very funny. Is that how you also see it?
I beg to differ a bit, but what I see is disenfranchising a lot of people the opportunity to register as voters. Because currently what we are doing is limited registration exercise. And I think my good friend Franklin Kujo has his opinion about that. I have a different opinion. I think that the region will start at the level where we begin to vote. It sometimes can amount to rigging when we are not given the opportunity to get our preferred candidate, to get their members to register. But in this case, limited exercise is for everyone. You can bring in your party members, everybody can bring in your kids who have turned 18 and above. Everybody must be given the opportunity. So for what I see now is an issue of, let me put it this way, the inability for others to be able to vote, which means that some people will be disenfranchised. And what group of people will be disenfranchised will determine which party is serious and which party wants to bring more people to register and which party is not willing to bring more people to register.
Okay, right. I'm told that beyond going to court, there are a series of actions that you intend to take to make sure that the Electoral Commission listens to you. I don't know how you can succeed with this because the exercise is starting on Tuesday. And I don't know, do you feel like you're racing against time?
No. I think that the injunction will stop them from going ahead with the exercise on the 12th of September. We don't believe that the Chief Justice not being at post will hinder the development of the process. What we are asking is that even if the Chief Justice is at post, the Chief Justice should not be the only person who should sit at that chair and only determine the issue. There should be an assistant, somebody else who can act on behalf of the Chief Justice when the Chief Justice is not at post. So for us, we are waiting until Monday to see whether the injunction will be served and agreed upon and accepted. And that will then help in the processes. But we think that the Electoral Commission should do what is needful, should continue to do the exercise as it was. You cannot just change dynamics and change reforms without a collective collaboration and acceptance.
Okay.
We used to do it, and that was the exercise. Electoral processes at the electoral areas. You cannot come and say district processes. We don't want to go to the districts. We don't know each other at the district levels. And the districts are too far. Okay? They are far apart from one another. And people don't have time. Let's be sincere. All these young people who have 10, 18 and above don't even have the resources to go there. So what are you doing?
Okay.
Then that issue of region comes in from Mr. Franklin Kujo, because you are disenfranchising a lot of people too. It could amount to region in one way or the other.
All right. Mr. Hassan Ayariga, thank you very much for your time. It's been nice talking to you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Right. Hassan Ayariga.
Frankly, good morning.
Right. Franklin is on the other side. Franklin, let's please have Franklin back. Franklin, Hassan Ayariga has been saying hi. He's been extending some felicitations to you. I don't know whether you heard him.
I did. I just responded. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes. You're looking good, my brother. We'll find time to meet.
Sure.
Right.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Have a good day too, Hassan Ayariga. So, Franklin, let's come back to our second topic quickly. Let's deal with this, and I want to know what your thoughts on it are, and then we can end because I know you have other engagement elsewhere. Now, let's hear from the former president again as he expresses concerns about the packing of the judiciary with persons who are supposedly aligned to the New Patriotic Party. Let's watch the former president again, and then we'll come back to Mr. Franklin Kujo. We want to please play back that video of the former president talking about the judiciary so that we can have a conversation with Franklin Kujo on this.
Beyond just monetary inducements, now it is also seen that the judiciary is partisan, and a lot of people feel that justice is not served in many cases, and then we bear the brunt of that. You feel that the judiciary is partisan, and the judiciary is packed with NPP inclined judges, because this government has carried out a deliberate policy of putting their people on the bench. It's more than 80 towards 100 and counting. He's packed the courts, and we know that they've packed the courts because they want to avoid accountability after they have left office. And so all manner of people who are known to have been partisan, to have been executives of their party, who are in the legal profession, are being leapfrogged into the superior courts and other places. We must be prepared as NDC legal persons to also go onto the bench so that we can balance out, the judiciary. Currently, the judiciary is packed with NPP inclined judges, because this government has carried out a deliberate policy of putting their people on the bench. And so I encourage some of you to look at careers on the bench so that we can balance out what the current situation is.
He has appointed the biggest number of judges onto the bench. It is more than 80 towards 100 and counting. You can see what the current president has done. He has packed the court, and we know they have packed the court because they want to avoid accountability after they have left office. So I encourage some of you to look at careers on the bench so that we can balance out what the current situation is. We must be prepared as NDC legal persons to also go onto the bench, so that we can balance out the judiciary. That's from the former president. Franklin Kujo, what do you think?
Well, once again, the interpretations President Mahama puts to what he thinks is happening is within his right to say so. Of course, I've seen, even before JM spoke on this matter, there have been, the last time I saw a list, I think it had to do with the Court of Appeals or something like that. And I wondered, why so many people within a very short time? And ever since, the numbers have just been ballooning. But the Supreme Court have got so many other judges. And I feel as though that even though the Constitution may not put a limit there when it comes to the number of Supreme Court judges or whatever it is, I feel that, one needs to be a bit prudent in the way the appointments are made. We don't have a bolder judiciary to start off with. When I say bold judiciary, I mean most of the judges are literal judges. Essentially, they literally interpret what the law says. Sometimes they don't add other, probably more convincing extenuating factors to ensure that we are building a bolder country, how do you call it, a country that is bent on moving with countries that are highly effective. I could give many examples, but so when we don't have that, it beggars belief why you keep adding numbers to the same group of people who are virtually going to say everything that the Constitution says it is. Take the Demarcation issue, for instance. I mean, I'm mortified that even though there's some small rule somewhere that says that, okay, you needed to have been probably completely, disloyal or something like that, renounce your citizenship or something like that before you can actually contest an election. Even though the period suggests that, look, the gentleman indeed, at the end of the day, did get whatever it is, and then eventually took part in the election. You know, something I'll credit the Electoral Commission for, at least for once, they were a bit more bold. But when it came to the judges, they just said, well, there's a rule that says that that's a robotic explanation to give. That's not bold, that's not forward-looking. I mean, I don't see it as growth. It doesn't help the growth of the country. You know, when you listen to some of the judgments in America and you read about it, and I'm an avid reader of the American judicial system, by the way. There's an organization we work with called Cato Institute. They review the Supreme Court decisions as well. And it's a beauty to read some of the reviews. You see that there's a society, and that's exactly why they are growing. But here, okay, well, this says, hey, you have caught you here, this thing, even if though the person you could see was making an effort. No. But why pack the place anyway to get the same type of logical thinkers, if you permit me to use the word logical. Of course, that's a tongue in cheek, by the way. But to assume that packing, and the word pack is actually the right word. Seriously, I mean, I've seen those numbers, and I don't. For me, my assessment is, to what end? To the growth of this country? I don't see it. First of all, yes, if the judges, maybe the commercial side of things, maybe we wanted to fast track. That's one of the things I credit this current Supreme Court CJ with, by the way. I mean, she's cut her teeth through commercial courts, fast tracking the process. Maybe that's where we should focus and have a lot more ADR system set up so that people can have quick judgments and all of that. Even with all this backing, there are still accusations that the judiciary seems not to be fair. I mean, some of the political landmark decisions that have been taken, as in the right to vote, who should vote, the processes leading to getting them. I still disagree with the Supreme Court. I thought that was not forward-looking. It wasn't developmental, where you say you can't use passports. I mean, crying out loud. Countries are moving into the digital space. I mean, yesterday I was on a program, 3 years ago, I was on a program on AI. And if you hear the things, some judges were on the call, the things they are thinking, moving the country ahead. And I sit here and I hear, you can't even use that represents you as a citizen. It's backward. It's not growth. And so I'm sorry, these numbers do not correspond to the growth that we want to see in our country. Period. And to that extent, we should stop increasing the numbers, because the numbers are not helping. It's like putting in the same number of. Look, who was it? Was it Milton Friedman, who was in China 1976, American economist, and then went and found out that the Chinese road constructors were using, had all these people who were, what's it called, digging pits. And he looked at them and said, don't you think if you use a tractor, which we use in America, you go faster? They said, no, we want to create employment. So that's why we are getting a lot of people to use shovels to dig the pits. And they said, well, then why don't you use spoons? Because when you use spoons, you get a lot more people to employ. That's the silly understanding of full employment. If the idea is to be employing people to get careers in the judiciary, then, well, maybe we should go ahead and pack the courts. For me, my understanding of packing the courts must correspond with growth. I don't see I don't see that connection. Just a few judges have been outstanding. Dr. Ba, and I'm reading some of the commentary, Kuma and the rest, I'm writing about him. And I see all of that. So look, my understanding of packing, and it does not correspond with the the growth that we want to see in our judicial system.
I see, right. But so you're looking at it more from the productivity point of view, but the former president is of the view that the current president is packing the courts because he wants to avoid accountability post his tenure. Do you see where the former president is coming from? Are there reasons for you to believe that what the former president is saying is grounded?
You know, sometimes it's pretty difficult to say that politicians may be right or wrong when it comes to, because again, people like that have been in positions before, so maybe they see things differently than we see.
Right.
I mean, having been caught, I think, on 2 issues that involved waste of money, where a clear public institution is wasting money, and the judiciary is actually superintending and helping that institution to waste money. I can only sympathize with some aspect of what John Mahama is saying, that it appears when it's probably political, then maybe the kinds of rulings that are coming out and the commentary they add into the ruling is quite nauseating, so politically jaundiced. And then you ask yourself, well, if this is just an ordinary civilian who is trying to make things better for a country, will bring a suit that says, stop paying $1.5 million as we speak today without any credible report of the impact that contract has had on this country, and it's going to continue for the next 10 years. And a judge says, if you do this thing, then you pay the state if you lose. But you see, you provide justification for some people to say, this decision was politically, achieved. To that extent, I won't fault it. Or you go to a court where you are listening to a judge say, you are not neutral. As the former Chief Justice said to us in court, you are not neutral. I was like, is that a commentary from palm wine, whatever, bar? Because I didn't understand that. What do you mean by you're not neutral? That's exactly the reason why we came to court, to say that the EC cannot be given the opportunity to be wasting our money because the EC is doing so. These are the things we should be boldly saying in society. We build it. We build society by doing these things.
Right.
And so, look, I can't fault President Mahama entirely, but my personal experiences make me to believe sometimes some of the judgments are somewhat politically procured.
So the final question to you is, he says, I am encouraging some of you, and here he was talking to NDC lawyers who had gathered at the 3rd annual NDC lawyers conference. He says, I'm encouraging some of you to look at careers on the bench so that we can balance out what the current situation is. We must be prepared as NDC legal persons to also go onto the bench so that we can balance out the judiciary.
You know, the judiciary is not a place for turf wars. It should never be. The fact that my good friend Anado has sparked the courts and done all the things he's done, well, balance it out how? So we are going to appoint the same number of people, and then let's not justify, what we don't think we like. I don't think we should do that. I mean, urging people to go to careers at the bench is enough. And I think maybe that's what he actually meant. But not what he actually meant is we'll balance it out. Does it mean you do administratively, or he's urging people to go in there? Maybe that's also another interpretation. He's urging people to take careers up at the bench. And maybe he fell short of saying he's going to pack the course. Maybe we can give him the benefit of the doubt. But if the intention is to balance out by administrative fiat, then obviously I wouldn't side with him.
All right. So then I get a message from Hassan Ayariga, who's been watching us. He says that I don't think that John is right with packing the judiciary with NDC judges. I think we need to make our judicial system a more responsible and transparent one as we can. That's Hassan Ayariga's thoughts on this matter. We'll take a short break. Some of you have also actually sent me many messages on this matter. When we come back, we'll be finding out what Alan Kwejo Chiramanting is considering doing. There's all kinds of rumors in town as to what he is thinking or considering doing now that he has publicly declared that he's not interested in the NPP's internal contest. So what is he interested in? His spokesman is here. He will be breaking the news to all of us here, be telling us what Alan is up to. I'll take a short break. When I come back, stay tuned in. Don't touch that dial. This is Metro TV. This is Inside Pages.